Usually, you train a certain trait for about a month, and then you go to your next month and it's a different trait, and you go to the next month and it's a different. So we might do strength endurance, 10 to 12 reps, right? Strength, however, whatever. Sets of 10, sets of 8 to 10. And this is most of your movements. Now we're we try to start to transition into power. So our competition is here. So we're kind of phasing in, which is, yes, that's how you want to do it. As you get closer, get more specific. And a lot of the traditional stuff, what they term their power phase, is actually 90% of maxes and slow as shit. So where's your power? It's more, they should call it maximal strength, but that's different. So I'm here right on like sets of 3 to 5 now. You've all done this, and I don't know if research tells this. Once you are here, you have lost some of what you trained here, right? Because we've all been here on my heavy weights doing sets of 3 to 5. When we get the harebrained idea on squats, I'm gonna throw my weights on from back here and do a set of 12, and you wanna fucking die. So you lost what you did here. By intermixing that, you can kind of bring them, the system, you can kind of bring them all along throughout the year. Now, the linear stuff will work very good if you're a lifter. There's a lot of really strong lifters, right? Way fucking stronger than me, who do that and it works. But athletes need a wider range of things, right? Okay? So with the system, you can bring everything along. So I can bring my endurance to my competition, but still have emphasis on your power and explosive or speed or whatever your event needs. Okay, so that's to me, that was always the biggest advantage. To me, that's conjugate. Like, everybody has different definitions and what it's bands and it's chains and then undulating volume waves. To me, it's just training different traits within each day so you can bring them all along. Okay. Talk about the powerlifting thing. To me, it's the simplest means possible. When I read Dave's article back in 2000, it just made sense. It was like, doing heavy, yeah, max strength, speed, doing accessories to build tissue. Any movement, you can do anything to become explosive. Okay? Like that Charlie's chart, we had snatches, cleans, med ball throws, sprints. So again, it's how you do your movement, not so much what movement you do. It's more the template, the framework. Okay. These are a lot of the accomplishments. Yes?
I had a question about the last one. So, I would assume that like the residual training effect for endurance is going to be different period, like might be longer or shorter than strength. So, do you want to hit on all those parameters? Like, for example, do you want to have endurance and power and strength in one day, or how do you plan that in terms of like peaking for a big game or something like that?
Did you guys all hear? That's a good question. So yes, you're gonna hit all those things within the day. It's basically, this goes right down, this is your day of training for movements. Warm up, explosive stuff, power, speed, whatever, however you want to term it. Depending on the day, max strength or strength speed. So it could be max effort or dynamic effort, right? That's my first movement. My second movement is going to be another big strength one. So I'm still in the strength, like sets of 5 to 10 area. And then down onto accessory work, that's kind of where you're going to hit your endurance level. So that's how you're kind of keeping everything in there. Okay? But then as you get closer to your event, you're going to, for us, the biggest thing that made the biggest difference in the programming as we got closer to our big event was dynamic day. That's where the most thought was put into how, like, the percentages and the volumes. Because really, like for an athlete, max strength is just max strength. Do something heavy. Accessory work is just reps, like bodybuilding. With your dynamic stuff, that's where it's kind of fine-tuned to like speed and reaction and your jumps too. We spend a lot of time thinking about the type of jump, the type of contraction. So basically, for most, like sprinters, most sports, our jumps would work from general here it would be like a seated box jump or a box jump with weight, so it's more of a muscle jump. And we work towards more neurological, like true plyometric, as going into there. We didn't, yeah, it's reactive. We didn't do a lot of that in the off season. Because if we did it was a low level, like they get that stuff in practice and all the other things they're doing, just running the jump. Yep. Okay. So these are kind of the accomplishments we had. I was talking to you guys earlier about the Young Division 1, like we weren't getting the Alabama kids. That's kind of, like, there was a point where I started getting alumni and stuff coming in, like, kind of pointing out that we had kids doing things athletically that really shouldn't be doing, kind of like Rob. Like, he was 5'10", and did what he did, like, track's a big example. We had a lot of kids that just, like, you kind of look at them, you know, and then they come home with conference titles and stuff. I hate it, like, I would talk to coaches and stuff, and I don't know if they're trying to, I don't know what their angle was, to be like, you know, people say, well, if you work hard in the weight room, anything will work. Why are you there? Why do you do what you do? So, like, when strength coaches say that, like, don't stop fucking evaluating yourself. You know what I mean? Like, what you do and what's on paper is important. Your coaching is important. So it just, you know, and then we had kids like, hey, I wouldn't have done, there are kids that did things that I know they wouldn't have done if they were on another system. And they told me that. And other people told me, you know what I mean? And like kids would leave and their performance would fall off because their coach would pull them out or they thought they needed something different. Time and time again, their performance would fall off and they would start getting more injuries. And then on the flip side, we would have kids come over and start, and within 2 weeks it was my knees feel better, my back feels better, and then a couple weeks after that, the trainers were like, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm not treating as many knees, and the kids feel better, and so it's just, you know, it matters what you do. Okay, we talked, does anybody know, you know what this is? Anybody else? Okay, just Michael Gier, a massive human being. He used to train on my side. But anyways, my point is, we kind of talked about people are forgetting about the movements in here. This can make the most difference on athletic performance. Okay? Your athletes have been running and jumping and playing their sport their whole life. How much better are they going to get at that by doing more of that? Strength is their limiting factor. Okay? And I put this picture up here because the programming that we're seeing is, I'm complaining a little bit. It's getting too far away from strength, right? We talk about the functional stuff, and that's good. The strength is good, but we gotta keep the strength there. You know, like why do we have NFL linemen that look like chubby basketball players? Like there was, I took it down because it was kind of there was a guy in the combine just should like all of the factors. I want that guy. You know what I'm saying? And I think a part of, there's other factors that go into that, I get it, but I think we're kind of getting away, like you can't get like that doing the foo-foo stuff. You gotta do some strong, be strong. It'll take care of a lot of your problems. Okay, my brain's over, I'm brain back. You guys all seen this, I'm sure, force velocity curve. Okay, so with a typical linear model, like we talked about before, we'll develop wherever we're at on the curve, it doesn't matter. We'll push, say, maximal strength up, and then we go to something else, and we'll push that up and to the right. We're trying to push that this way. But when one goes out, the other one will come back in a linear model. With conjugate, you can kind of bring them all along, okay? And then when it's time to peak, then you can take your most important one and really push it, and then you just pull back on the other ones a little bit, and it all kind of takes off. But that's kind of the theory. You can raise all these all year long. Okay. You guys don't. Okay. To me, in my opinion, the biggest difference you can make for your athletes is increase their power output. If you're general pop, make them feel better, right? Just they want to feel better. My point is, you don't have to have 100 different workouts for each individual kid, for each individual sport. Keep it basic, increase their power output, get them lifting right, and you'll take care of so many problems, okay? Kelly did the jump earlier. She was one of our pole vaulters, national level, made it to the nationals a couple times. About 115, 20 pounds. She's sitting on John's shoulder, who was our national champion shot putter. He was about 320, I'm guessing 330. He doesn't want to say admit it, but he was around 330 at one point. They both use basically the same program. Okay? Now, Kelly was very motivated, wanted to train, liked the weight room. Okay, so she could do that. Her focus was there. But the big, really the only differences in their training was Kelly had higher jump volume because John's 320. He's not going to be able, it's going to beat him up. She was a pole vaulter, that's a little more specific. Her accessory volume was lower because we don't need to add tissue to her. John, so like her workout might be 3 to 4 sets on accessories. John's might be 5 to 6, depending on where you're at, not all the time. We'll try to get him as big as strong as possible. She probably did a little more mobility work. That's really it. Okay. So that's just kind of, my coaches didn't know this, but a lot of the teams have very similar programs. Coaches they want their teams to be exclusive and stuff. What was that like for?
All the time. What do you do for?
Yeah, okay, it's just, yeah. So, don't, save yourself the headache. Not that you can't, that's not a bad thing. If you want to do that, I hate, Jason and I were talking about, I hated programming. It's the worst part of the job, in my opinion. So, if you like that, go ahead, it's not a bad thing, but keep the power output in mind. Save yourself some trouble. And then there's Sean, just got to Poor Sean. So linear, we talked about that. Linear is kind of boring. This system will keep your athletes engaged and kind of challenged. They don't know what's coming up, right? You just have it on the board, come in. To me, that teaches them to compete a little bit, right? You just kind of see what's going on. Okay, we gotta go. You don't have a chance to mentally prepare for it, so you have to kind of learn to just kind of roll with the punches. Louis had a cool quote. He said, "If you want to fight me, I'll fight now. I'll grab a shovel, I'm ready." So it's I always kind of took that kind of approach. And you got to kind of I always thought about it this way too. I love to train. It's one of my top priorities in life, as sad as that may be. But if I know I got to go in a free squat or do the same exercise, the same stuff week after week, I dread it. And I like training. A lot of the people you work with, they really don't, you know what I mean? They kind of do it because they have to. So it kind of takes that anxiety too at the same time. As much as it challenges them, they're not dreading it all the way. And I think that kind of helps. I'm just making sure I'm not doing this up. This is big, the last thing here. We talked about form and then intent. So this will guide your training. People get very caught up on percents and this and that. Just move stuff heavy on heavy day, push hard on speed day, push fast, push hard but push fast on speed day. If that intent is there, then the percents that you put into place will work and everything will kind of fall into place. If your kids know if the intent is not maximal, all that stuff doesn't matter. Okay, so that has to be there first. Okay, I'll put this in. Everybody good? Any questions so far? All right, here is that Wizard of Oz moment where they pull the curtain back on the wizard. People talk about conjugate, and it's percents and waves and this and no, it's just it's your lanes. Okay, this is the big secret. This is your daily workout. This is it. Tissue prep lane. So we always did rolling out, ex-wife, RPR is good. Softball and pecs and delts, whatever area you're going to train, kind of get in there and get the tissue moving a little bit. Warm-up lane. we didn't do, not that dynamic warm-ups are bad. A lot of times I didn't have time for it, or they were doing it with their sport coaches multiple times a day. So we would just push blood in the area where they're training. So like if we're gonna do lower body day, we might hit 2 sets of 20 reverse hyper, 2 sets of 20 groiners, and then a round squat. Oh, I'm sorry, then we would go jumps or throws, and then we would go to our main movement. But just trying to push some blood to the areas we're gonna work. If it was an upper body day, we might do 2 by 15 push-ups plus in the rack, so it's not real hard, and some external rotation. You just knock those out, and then you roll it. So warm up, jumps or throws lane, jumps were done on lower body day, throws were done on upper body day, med ball, something simple. Then it was max effort or speed, depending on the day, right? This is any day within the system. Then your accessory work, and then mobility if they needed it, or like I say, reset, re-lengthening, stretching, whatever, really kind of whatever they needed. Have you guys seen Dick Hartzell, hip mobility stuff from back in the day? I'm a big fan of that. If you go on YouTube, I have it on my YouTube channel and his too. It's just a band series of like dynamic stretches. Works really good. Kind of we can go through it later in the session. That was it. That's the whole thing. Right? Heavy day, move heavy stuff, push real hard on it, try to move it fast. It's not going to move fast, it's going to be heavy. Dynamic day, move, and then there's some body movement stuff. There's 3 main methods within the system. Max effort. We'll get back to that. Dynamic effort. Sub-maximal loads, move as fast as you can. Okay? Repetition method is bodybuilding. Just get in and do reps. Get time under tension, build the tissue, build up your weak areas. Okay? It's like, think of it this way. Max effort method is just going to make me strong. Your repetition method is like your fundamentals of sport. So like your repetition method would be like working on foul shots in basketball. It's a smaller, little, real easy things that you just do work for to bring up the kind of the bigger picture. Max effort method. Why is max effort method good, or why is it bad? You can say it's bad because there's not enough time under tension. That's one of the arguments against it. That's not what it's designed for. It's a neurological training method. We're trying to get the high motor units on our chart that we looked at earlier. That's what max effort method is for. Dave actually brought up this point too. If you actually look at somebody getting ready for like a true max effort attempt, while they're setting up and stuff and actually doing the lift, you'll actually get about 10 seconds, 10 to 20 seconds of tension. So you could make an argument that there is enough time under tension. What are your athletes, what strength are they terrible at? Isometric strength, right? They're like floppy little giraffes. That will work on that, but they have to be ready for true max effort work. You can't just throw them in there, okay? It's a great CNS stimulator. We talk about that. You can, inhibition, kind of teaches fight or flight. When you start getting your kids to be able to strain under a heavy load and hold their position, their strength will take off. But it also builds that isometric component, so it'll bring a lot of other things up that you won't normally get. Most programs only utilize 2 and 3. A lot, like most, maybe not so much anymore, but like a lot of programs are kind of Olympic lifting mixed with bad bodybuilding. You know what I mean? So if you can work in max effort method, you can kind of take a huge jump out of your competition. So here's kind of more of your weekly layout, but they're all the same as that first slide we looked at. This is just a little more specific. This was like this was our training, our template. When I would write programs, just plug in each row or each lane. That's all you have to do. So let's look at max effort upper. I'm working with athletes. Okay, I don't need to worry about their specific weaknesses because they all have the same weaknesses. Once in a while, you get an outlier kid. They're all weak in the same areas. So all I got to do is do a max effort pressing variation. Switch it up, hit different range of motions. Then do a second pressing, usually a full range. Really, max effort might be 1 rep max, might be 2 rep max. Then I come down to my next one. I'm going to do 3 sets of 3 to 5, maybe up into 6 or 8. That's another heavy, big movement. Then I'm going to row the stomach because I want a strong back. Okay, hit some triceps and some shoulders. Usually your shoulder stuff is gonna be kind of rehab based, heavy emphasis on rear delts and traps and trap minor, that type of stuff. Could hit some abs and then biceps. They're athletes. It doesn't, you're not gonna make or break their performance if you do chest supported dumbbell row versus a T-bar row. You know what I mean? But switching that up every 3 to 4 weeks can make a big difference for them. So that's it. And then you can go through and kind of the same thing. Yeah.
So rotation of exercises in the high school setting, we still have an issue with normal band extensions, right? So obviously coaching, take that off the table, right? But when I change something up like that, I can throw something super simple, and the kid looks at me like I just put it in Chinese.
Jason had week 1 in here yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was frustrated. It's so with beginners you can stay on stuff longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's honestly I haven't found a way to get around that.
Yeah.
You know, like you can get a junior or senior come up to you and ask you what's a reverse hyper. Been doing it for 4 years, 4 times a week. Yeah, I don't know. It's but you can leave it in longer and they'll still be okay. If you want to save yourself some headaches, keep your accessory work in there for 5-6 weeks instead of 3. Okay. I talked about rows. We train rows every day. Everybody talks about core. Your lats are part of your core. So what we did was we did a horizontal row on upper body days to kind of mimic bench a little bit. The big reason I switched this around is Dave was talking about doing vertical pulling movements on lower body days to help traction your spine. Okay, you got that barbell on your back and a bar in your hands for your first 2 movements. That's what's cool about the system. The stuff that's popular in the system will help decompress you the rest of your workout. Okay? So instead of doing big compound movements for the entire day, where you're smashing yourself down, I can stay down for my 20% of my training and the rest can be kind of recuperative if you set it that way. This is a couple options. What I like best, like in your settings, most of you are going to be training on the weekend. If you can spread the program out, kind of how Louis does, and hit one day on the weekend, so you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then one day on the weekend, I think that's better. But you don't always have that option. You kind of have to keep it in the week. So what I like to do with them is max effort upper on Monday, then speed lower, Wednesday off, Thursday speed upper, Friday, I should say lower, that's a typo. Okay? Because my thinking was, and this was awesome, my thinking was, why do I want to bring them in Monday and hit heavy legs so they're trashed for 2 days and still have to go to practice and do all this stuff? Okay? I would like to put that on Friday, and then if they go home and recover, great. If they don't, they don't have to go to practice and perform. You know? So trying to save them for practice and all the stuff they got to deal with during the week. You can do heavy upper and still go to practice or whatever, it'd be okay. I didn't want to trash them, because then we'll start hearing from coaches too. Like, I did so sore. Yeah. So that was off season. Now, in season, like with our throwers, and this kind of plays into what's great about max effort method. Max effort method is your max for what you have that day. Okay? It gives you a chance to auto-regulate, take into account all the other stuff you got to deal with. So in season, our throwers still train 4 days a week. You can do that with throwers. They're not going out and getting in a car accident like a football player every weekend. So we kept them on 4 days a week. They would compete Saturday. And they would come in Sunday and hit max effort lower. So yes, it was max effort, but they're probably not going to break PRs. You know what I mean? It's what you got that day. So that's what's cool, and it's low volume too. If you do max effort work, you should warm up with a bar for 15 to 20 reps. That's your first set. It should only take you about 7 sets to get to your top set. So even if you're doing 3s all the way up, it's only 21 reps. You know what I mean? Whereas most people put repetition work in there. That's a higher volume. So max effort can actually be kind of a low volume thing to kind of, so anyways, the throwers would come in, they might not PR, but it's what they had for that day. And then you would go, Monday would be heavy upper. I usually don't like that. I usually don't like to go heavy, but they're in season. You need to be ready for the weekend. So we'll put the heavy stuff in early, and then day off, speed, and then they're ready to go to the meet. Yeah.
Max after work, ideally, would you always use singles or do you like to indulge in singles? Would that also be auto regulation, just based on how you're feeling?
You can do that. I like the singles because of the neurological factor. I think there's something that you don't get with the other stuff. Less time under tension. The doubles have worked well though. But I think, and I stole that from Donnie too, he was, instead of doing a true 1 rep max, he would do 4 to 5 doubles. They were kind of ascending, so like the first double might be around 80%, and then you take smaller jumps, 4 or 5 doubles, and then if you're feeling good, then you do a single. We did that in the off season, and everybody got strong. Everybody when we started doing that, so I don't know if it was them being a younger population, younger lifting age, the more time under tension was better. I'm not sure, but the singles, it kind of really depends where you're at. If they're, I like, most of the time I'll say I like singles. If you can get away from it, if they're ready for it, and all those other things. But there's doubles work well too. Triples work well. But to me, you're kind of hitting triples on your secondary movement, so you really don't, you kind of double it up if you do it for your max effort lane. But again, you might have a population where that's all they're going to do is a triple. They're not ready for singles, so you're doing like heavy threes, maybe not a 3 rep max, but heavy threes. Yeah.
Like sometimes with either max effort, maybe not necessarily a true max, but sometimes performance will start to break down. So I usually just cut a rep off. It's doubles, singles if you really need to. Like that's what I did to get better a lot of times too. It's like my second rep just went terrible often, so it's cut the second rep to reinforce the good behavior. And over time, I added this into myself.
Yes, that's great. You can do that too, especially with athletes. So we talk about max effort and straining, and like blowing yourself out. That's cool and it's good and it helps. But that, what he just talked about too, will work well too. So like technically max effort is 90% or above. So I can hit a heavy single and not have any technical flaws and not blow my ass out for the day and still be able to progress. You know what I mean? So when we were, like example, when we were transitioning, I wanted them faster, we were putting more emphasis on bar speed and stuff. We would take some emphasis off of max effort and it would be almost like an RPE. So we just work up to what felt like an 8 or 9 out of 10 and shut it down. So we work up, push a little bit, cut it, and then we come back since we want to be ready for the speed day. And you'll still progress along. You know what I mean? That's being at Paul's gym and seeing him train. He's 45 to 46. He's never had a major surgery. You know, but he's good at doing that. Like when he doesn't have to push real hard, he pulls back. You know what I mean?
So for like those of us who maybe track numbers, bench squat, deadlift, or whatever, if you're doing like max effort and it's kind of like your max for that day, how would you suggest tracking progress over time? Because if like you do track numbers over their 4 years or whatever, and maybe one day they're like they just blow it out of the water, like where'd that come from? You know that another day, sometime down the road, it's going to be way underneath what they've done in the past. So I guess what's your suggestion on tracking kind of what's in your system or what you officially have as their numbers?
It's gonna, it's maybe pick like 4 or 5 exercises that you think work and stick with those and rotate through them. Your results aren't gonna be as quick, but it's gonna be, you're gonna have more of an overall trend that you're looking for. And just because like, PR, no, missed it. PR, missed it, PR, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you kind of see that trend, you'll know they're going in the right direction. That's why I like vertical jump, you know what I mean, for the indicator. But if you're tracking I would track lifts too, because coaches and kids like to see it.
So for us, it's mainly, sorry not to cut you off, but for us, it's mainly like to give them a sense of what they should do on like the accessory stuff. Because if I get like my soccer girls, they'll always go way below what they can probably do if I don't at least prescribe a little something or whatever sports.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Just that's the idea.
Yeah, so track those lifts so you can show them, but if you get the kid that like freaks out if they didn't PR, maybe pull them aside and be like, listen, strength, unfortunately, strength doesn't go like this. So sometimes you're not gonna PR, get it next time, you know, that way you still got the numbers.
Okay, thanks.
A good 3-day option, a lot of teams or people will only train 3 days a week. You can still make great progress with a 4-day program. I found it to be the best option. We used to do, with the teams that were 3 days a week, we would go heavy, and then a combo speed day on the 3rd day of the week. And then, I can't remember why I switched this or how, we switched it with swimming, or we would run the 4 days. So it'd be day 1, day 2, day 3, the weekend, then we'd come in the next week and do day 4. Does that make sense? So it just expands it a little bit and it leaks into the next week. So some weeks will be 2 upper body days and 1 lower, and then your next week will be opposite of that. For whatever reason, I think it kind of built in a little more recovery for them, but like their developments kind of seem to take off when we switch to that. So that's kind of my 3-day a week teams, that's what we did, and we saw better results. Swimming, baseball.
Actually, I can see why that would be helpful for, especially with multi-sport athletes and stuff like that, and younger trainers, giving the time to recover. You know, between this camp and this clinic and this season and this tryout and blah, blah, blah.
That's another thing, like the periodization or like long-term kind of, most of us don't have the kids for long. If you're in college, they're going home for 6 weeks, they're going home for 10 weeks. Frank will talk about that. Like a lifter, if I'm a lifter and all I do is train and I don't have those breaks, but an athlete, you know, a high school kid that's got all this other stuff going on, you know, I mean, that's why I think this works, because you're hitting stuff more often. 3 days. But yeah, I think the recovery was a big, kind of spread it out. Your body doesn't know, I have to do 2 max effort days this week. Within 7 days, you know. So what should max effort look like? If your nose isn't bleeding, it's not heavy.
That was heavy, oh my gosh.
All right. So it's going to be heavy. It's probably going to be slow. All right. So that was a deadlift. Now. Mark was slow as hell no matter what he did. But at least he worked for that second one. We called him the piston because he was like a hydraulic. Like you're trying to be speed. But that's how it should look. It's hard. Like that 1 rep took about 5 seconds. So if you can do true max effort work, you'll get a lot of benefit from that. Okay? Now if your kids aren't ready for that, you can hit some sub-maximal doubles. You can hit some sub-max 3s. But it shouldn't be hard. You know what I mean? Like that's your first movement. After that movement's done, they should know that sucked. Okay? So, but that's all relative. So we'll talk about that. Watch him again. Watch him go back. This is not, so if he'd been in the program for a couple of years, done a ton of low back work, a ton of ab work, I know he can handle this. He's kind of one of those kids that kind of gets in that goofy position anyways, but I knew he had done the work to be able to handle it. Yeah, if he was a newer lifter, I would have shut him down like maybe 2 sets before this. For somebody who's inexperienced and doesn't have the strength, wants to go back, I would like an arch form. See that? Like if that was a newer lifter, no, you know, we would have shut him down 2 sets ago. But that's just kind of how he was, and he put the work in there. We could do that, okay? But if I did shut him down 2 sets before, we still accomplished our goal. That's still about that would have been probably 90% of the max. right? So 2 sets before that probably would have been 5 plates. That's 550, probably would shut it down to 5 plates. Still, they're still within 90%, okay? A lot of times you're closer to being within 10% of your best, and you don't even realize it. You know what I mean? The kids will be bummed out, like you were talking about. They'll be bummed out because they did PR. If you actually look at it, you're like, dude, you're within 10%, and you know, then you can ask them, what was your weekend like, or, you know, and they're probably gonna tell you, it's finals, I feel like shit right now, my mom's an asshole, whatever. Okay, just a variation here. Now this is a good example because Kelly would come in and train with the throwers on Sundays, so she competed the day before and traveled and all that other stuff. So we'll see some neural fatigue. But this is basically how your effort should look. See her shake? It's because she smoked. She had to travel and compete and do all that stuff. Okay, but she held it, the big point is she held a good position and kept pushing, and the weight just kept going, okay? That's one of the big benefits. An inexperienced athlete would bail on that long ago, right? We talk about kids aren't tough enough. I don't think you can tough enough. Okay, how do you put max effort work in with inexperienced athletes? Just do speed work. Just do dynamic work for about a month. Sometimes you can do it for 2 weeks and they'll get it, sometimes 3 weeks and they'll start picking it up. That's kind of up to you and your coaching staff. So, you're going to do the speed work. On day 1, bring them in. Show them the movement. Have an athlete demonstrate, point out things you want, show them how to do it, then you send them off on the racks, and they're going to do the bar for 15 or 20 reps. That's always part of the warm-up. And then you're going to set a speed weight for them. So like, let's say it's women's swimming. I'm going to set them off. Okay, guys, hit your warm-up set for 20, and then you're going to put a 10 on each side, and everybody's going to do sets of 2 for speed, how you showed them, until I come around and adjust your weight. Okay, so we don't need their maxes, and we don't need to worry about percents at this point. You're just kind of eyeballing if their form is good and they can kind of stand up off the blocks, keep their form with a little bit of pop. Okay? And you just kind of creep them up. So like one girl might top out at 10 pound on each side. That's fine, that's her speed weight for the next 3 weeks. And then this girl might be strong and she can work with plate. You just kind of got to go around and help them you got to help them take their jumps because they don't understand. That's another little bit of a learning curve. And then you just work with those weights for 2 to 3 weeks. Usually by the end of 3 weeks, they look pretty proficient. You want 75–80% of the room to be doing pretty well with their speed work. And then you can kind of bring them along. Yep.
So I know a lot of times with max effort work, you're thinking like variations of main limits. With an inexperienced lifter, you want to use things like safety squat bar, or do you rather stick to just doing the barbell? So I think your max effort down first. And how long?
Everybody heard? Okay. How long you stick with a regular bar? We would teach with a straight bar. We would not throw different bars in until after they started going heavy. So it would be about 4 weeks. Now, we would put accommodating resistance on them, usually in week 2. Because by that time their form was decent enough. Like your form with or without bands is the same. So when people say you have to wait until you can do certain things, the added bands and chains, I don't understand. Why not take advantage of that stimulus? You have to scale it, right? Like my 100-pound squatting swimmer can't use strong bands. She's going to use mini bands, okay? Specialty bars can come into play once they've done a couple heavy weeks. So like 2 to 3 weeks, and then at that point, we're going to say, okay, today, we're going to work up. I want you, let's say, work up on 3s. After the bar for 20, every set is going to be 3 reps. Work up till it feels like an 8 out of 10. And let me or the other coach know we want to see it. And then if like technically they start looking crappy, shut them down, shut them. That would be, we had one heavy next week. Maybe if you want to record their weights, say, hey, here's your target, you're gonna beat this today, in the same movement. And usually, about that point, they're familiar enough with squatting where you can start throwing the different bars in. Okay, so, usually within about a month. Also, good question, at that point, so we're gonna teach wide stance early, work on that until they're good at it, which is usually about the same time frame. So after about 4 to 6 weeks, you want to start varying your stance, either weekly or every third week doing close stance variation. Okay, because if you're out here all the time on both your speed day and your heavy day, you're gonna start seeing some hip issues. Okay, I don't know that it's anything serious, but their groin and stuff is gonna kind of start getting beat up, low back's gonna start getting beat up a little bit. So what we did, we would vary the heavy work, like I said, but speed work was always out here. Okay, and I kind of thought because of the lower weight, we could stay out here and kind of bring up that weakness. Yeah.
How often do you recommend breaking the stance in?
You could do every other week or like every third week. You might even be able to do once a month.
Okay.
Those kind of seem to work for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we would do that on our poles too. So once you get them good at like a deadlift variation, you can throw a deadlift variation in once a month. And every time we did those, I tried to, one time was sumo, the next time was conventional, kind of rotate it like that to keep the variation. So we get them good at wide because they're really bad at that. Once that's up to speed, start varying them so your beams get stronger. Speed work is 30 to 70% of your max. Like, don't get hung up on the percents. As long as you're in that range, you're gonna be fine. Push as hard as fast as you can. Your sets and reps. Originally, they did 8x2 for squat and 8x3 for bench. Okay? The reasoning for that was those were the average times it took to complete a competition squat or bench. So Louis made it time specific. Those will work great for your athletes because it's going to help them be more explosive. If you think it's better for them to go 5 reps, because that's closer to their sport demands, that's fine, as long as their bar speed is up, okay? But what you don't want to do is get into like 10 reps, because then you're getting into lactic acid and stuff, and we're kind of getting out of the zone that we're trying to train. When you do your speed work, keep your rest periods low, no more than a minute, okay? Everybody does French contrast right now, that's the big thing. The whole theory behind that is I'm pre-exhausting and going into the next movement so I can draw in more fibers on the next movement. This takes care of that if you keep the rest periods down. Okay? So you're a little bit pre-fatigued on the next set. That's the whole concept. Now with your percents, once you've been kind of going, so once you're kind of established, you have some axes and you have percents or you know your speed weights, for your peaking, generally in off season we would work 50 to 60% because we're in the middle of that force velocity curve. We're just trying to work general power. Then what would happen is we want to peak for our sport. I want to direct my training more towards speed. Okay, so I'm going to start dropping my percents down, but I'm going to increase band tension. Okay, so I'm pulling down on the bar faster, so in theory you should come up faster. So your bar weight will drop, but your band tension will go up. So band tension in the off season was typically, there's charts for this, you don't need to remember the percents. Band tension in the off season was roughly 25% of their max. Like I said, don't worry about these. But for example, so off season, let's say it was average bands, when they went to when I wanted to get them faster, we would go up a band level or two. So if over here off season they were on an orange band or light band, when I come here for peaking, I'm going to put them on an average band or maybe even an average and a mini. Okay, so it's pulling them down more, but that will make them push up faster. We're making it more reactive. I don't know if you guys noticed the band levels. If you're setting up for squat, basically go up 50 pounds. So if you set them up correctly, on squat, and I have mini bands on the bar, that's about 50 pounds of band tension. If I put the next band is a light, if I put a light band on, it's about 100. Averages are 150. So you can go up a level by just adding a mini band. We used to do that. So, Okay, so we can watch. Let's watch this. Just kind of watch Sean's bar speed. So that's kind of an off-season speed we would look for. Okay, if we go back, I don't know. I think that's the most. I think his first ones were lighter. Yes, so this will be lighter. This would be a bar speed we would look for when we're getting closer to our big event, trying to peak. Football could be playoff time, basketball could be playoff time. Lighter bar weight, more bar speed. All right, Sean, let's do the. Okay, it's quicker. Good. So that's okay. And that's like when you're first teaching them, you just got to kind of eyeball it. You know what I mean? Eyeball that bar speed. Okay, good. So let's watch this first deadlift. This is the bar speed I would look for as I'm getting closer to peaking time. Okay, that's with that band setup, I got about 200 pounds of band tension at the top. Just quick and snappy, right? That's what you're looking for. Okay, boom. You guys do speed work, when you do speed pulls, make sure every rep is started from a dead stop. Same with your box squat, that's why you pause. Okay, we're trying to go from 0 to 60 as fast as we can. People talk about sport specific. That's how much of sport is here, and then boom, I'm gonna go from nothing. You know what I mean? Whole line. Even in basketball, if I'm kind of moving, like playing defense, I'm kind of boom, then I gotta go. It's all the same type of contraction. That's what you want to do. Okay, so this would be more just general power or like kind of off-season speed work. That's 4 plates. Okay, it's still fast, but not quite as fast as the other one. So you're basically, if you're peaking, just trying to make them move faster. Okay. With a group, stuff for your repetition, and this goes anyways. Like, you should be in somewhat kind of general physical shape. I've never understood standing around for 5 minutes between sets on stuff. Now, on your max effort work, as they get heavier, give them a little more time. But these are just some things to do for repetition. Fast paced, you can superset stuff. Time work works really well, like group settings. Helps you manage the group. So like with an advanced lifter, at some point you can't just do time work. Like you need to do standard sets of 10 or 8 with some rest between them. But like for a lot of athletes, you can get away with doing a lot of time work. You know, cluster sets, that's worked really well. You basically pick a weight you could do for like 20 reps or so, and I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna perform 10 reps, and then I'll rest like 15, 20 seconds, and then I'm gonna hit 10 again, and I'll do that for 3, 4, 5 minutes straight. Okay, so it's tough, it's a lot of time under tension, conditioning, all those things are built into it. That worked really well for our women's basketball. We put that in postseason, and their testing results after that all season were, like I should have retired that day. I looked at it and was like, holy shit. But part of that was, towards the end of their season, their speed work started to click. Like they were getting into place technically where we were able to do the more band tension thing and kind of do that. So everything was kind of working, and then like we did, week 1 was 2 minutes on accessory work, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I don't think we took them up to 5, but they were a good group. They were highly motivated, they were focused, they did a good job. those work real well. Circuits, I never like circuits because my brain doesn't work like that. It's really hard for me to keep everything organized. And then when the kids don't know where they're supposed to go, I don't know either. So I'm like, I get pissed at them. It's like, why don't you know this? But in my head, I'm like, I can't fucking keep it straight either. So I didn't do much circuit stuff. Stations are always good. Stations work good with my less focused groups. There were teams that if they had to go from bench to go over, do lat pull downs, within that walk, they were, you know what I mean? They can't. So stations, like we got to a point where we did timed work on the rack for every movement, and we would just do work. But it helped. They were not a motivated group, so I took what I could get from them. You know what I mean? It's not exactly what I wanted to do, but it kept them there. And I think that's more of a trend. I think more people are trying to keep the group here, not move around the room so much. I'm seeing more of that. Like people will get like the power block dumbbells and the pulleys on the rack, so everything's right there. So like for your less focused groups and guys that can't handle, or girls, I shouldn't say guys, I want to roll in. Groups that can't kind of handle that, keep everything right there. And it was really simple. It was, we would have a guy benching, somebody might be banded triceps here, banded face pulls over here, a banded throw to stomach over here, you know what I mean? And then we just keep rolling through. Just do 30, 40 minutes of work, hit abs at the end. What I did for there, so at that point, it was men's basketball after the season. We kind of did that to keep them more organized. So our dynamic work for them, I didn't want to separate it and count them out on the racks loose. Our dynamic work was extensive med ball throws. So we would go in the gym, this worked really well, women's basketball did too. 20-pound med ball, overhead throw, kind of throw some distance, walk your ball, throw, and just back and forth for 10, 15 minutes in the gym. But what that did was, after that phase, they were opening their knees really well on squats. Because they had to do it over and over again. You know, right? And it was it's hard to mess up, it's hard to hurt yourself. Do work. That's a big thing with your accessory work, just do work, get reps in. A lot of in-season teams were just 2 days a week, right? Why do you keep emphasis on strength? It's your foundation. This is Louis' quote, your pyramid's only as tall as your base is wide. It takes years to get truly, truly strong. You can get in shape in a couple months. So, we're going to need quite an emphasis. Here's a dynamic method example. We had a freshman thrower who was about a 600-pound squatter, 675-pound deadlifter. Now he had trained with Paul for high school, so I inherited this kid. But my point is, his typical speed day, we did 335 pounds on the bar, 4 chain, 8 sets of 2. Then he did speed pulls off the deficit, 315, 10 sets of 2. After he did 10 sets of 2 on speed pulls, he was talking shit. He goes, give me a number, I want to do some reps. So I go, do 20. All of them were explosive. Like he moved the ball pretty good. Probably could have done 30, 35 if I had numbers in it. But my point is, this is like just a typical speed day for him. So it's relative to your strength level, right? That's why it fits everybody. So if we calculate all that out, and keep in mind, the rest period was 30 to 60 seconds on speed squats and speed pulls. So we did 7,700 pounds of work on squat, 7,300 pounds on deadlift. That's 15,000 pounds, all fast and explosive reps in under 20 minutes. That's a lot of freaking work, right? So when the coach tells me, I don't know how this is going to help my players, I want to punch myself in the face. Like, what was that movie? Fight Club, where he beats himself over the office. So what I did, I took an Olympic example. and I gave this kid a little bit of credit. With his strength levels, let's say he could go in and do 10 sets of 2, which is also giving him, we're putting him ahead of the curve. Most Olympic programs are not going to do 10 sets of 2. A lot of times it's 3 sets of 3 or 3 sets of 5, but I gave him some volume, and I gave him a little bit of weight, which is probably not going to be able to do 275, but let's just say he could. I gives him 5,500 pounds of work, and then let's say we did a hang snatch variation. Again, I was generous. No way he's doing 225 for 10 sets of 2, but I'll give it to him. That'd be 4,500 pounds total work. That's only 10,000 pounds of work done, and there is no freaking way you're doing that many Olympic variants in 20 minutes. Okay, so there's my steak knife and chainsaw example. Okay, everyone in here who does Olympic stuff is hating me right now. Sorry. All right, there's the business again. We're almost done. We got a couple exercise examples that we'll look at, and then we'll break for lunch. Maybe do another drawing. If Pat St. Jack says we should do that.
That's right.
Then we'll come back and do the practical stuff. Okay. So just watch the squat form. We'll get some side views too, so you can see some stuff. If you guys ever want to squat 1,000 pounds, just make sure you're out of the way. Squat off that. You don't really need to get strong. Just bounce it out. So see your shin angle. Watch his hips. First movement is back. Back and open until he's on the box. Watch his feet from the front. Good lateral pressure. Now his toes come up a little bit. You generally don't want to do that. You want those toes to stay down. And that's what happens with the lean. Once they lean back on the box, that pressure will come out of their feet, and you'll see that. So if you get a kid that keeps raising his toes up, keep him leaning forward. Looking at the upper body a little bit. He does a good job. His elbows are forward, upper back's tight. To stand up, see there's no delay between his hips and his head rising first. That tells you that he's driving his shoulders into the barbell. Okay, if you see that ass come up first and then the head comes second, you gotta fix that. Job work. Bench, real quick, when you bench, a lot of benching is done up here, it should not be done up here, this will trash your shoulders, okay? If you have your person, whoever you're working with, bend their elbow 90 degrees, laid across their upper stomach, that's a double elevation bench. Okay, because what that does is, if I come up here, put my hand on the bar, that basically, I keep my elbow where it should be, that keeps my elbow right under the bar. Okay? You don't want to, if you're here, elbow a lot of times will come up, crushing your shoulder. So here, if I'm going to punch somebody, I want my elbow right behind my hand. I don't want to do this. I was going to pick on you. Right? That'll help keep your elbows where it should be, okay? So you want to hit your upper stomach. Everybody benches up here. I used to tell our kids, you really don't need to feel bench in your pecs. Everybody wants to pec the bench. Bench with your hands. You want to feel the pressure. You want to think of punching the bar, that will make you explosive. You should feel that pressure in your hands kind of go down your forearm. This will develop. As long as your arm does this, this will develop, right? Put the stress in your arms so you're not kicking the shit out of your shoulders. So when we press, we're going to try to press mostly in a straight line. Okay, because the more I come up here, that's more shoulder rotation I get. So I'm trying to stay here and not kick the crap out of my shoulders. Now, when you're going heavy, you're going to get this. Eventually, at some point, it's going to happen. We're trying to limit it for the most part. Okay. So let's watch John. So that's all upper body stuff. Once you get those things in place, then you can start working on leg drive. Okay. So kind of pick, like I said, teach one thing at a time. Same thing for this. John's hips come up a little bit with his leg drive. That's okay. He's not in the meat. If it gets excessive, then we'll try to correct it. It's not your primary battle on this. The big thing is hit that upper stomach, try to press in a straight line. Don't let the shoulders roll out. You want to stay back, but pushing yourself away. This gets heavy and strains, and he does a pretty good job of keeping it over his stomach, not over his face. See how it really didn't drift back? So that's a pretty good job. That was the first day he touched more than me. It was probably the start of my downfall, trying to keep up with John. I would compete at the end of summer, and then the throwers would come back, and the fall would be like their hardest training part of the year, and I would like hop into them and try to keep up with them. And eventually, it didn't work out so well. I'm looking back, it's probably one of my mistakes. But, okay, yeah, that was a good question. We'll go over deadlifts. We would typically introduce deadlift just like squat. Just speed work on it. Once you get good at it, just start making it a little heavier. Okay? When you're sumo pulling, think of it like high box squat. Everything else is the same. You just don't have to sit down. You're only going to squat down as far as you have to get to the bar. Okay? Then shoulders got to come up first. You got to drive out on your feet. It's the same stuff. Okay, sets up, gets pressure on his feet, brace the stomach. Up quick, pause it, up quick. That's all it is. Like people have problems with limitations. Has anybody tried to put this in and run into issues? We can do it that way. Like if you have questions on how to put it in with groups or roadblocks you run into.
I think those are the roadblocks I run into, training new people or younger people who have a big background in this. Basic understanding of programming and movements is taking it. I try to break things down into simple steps and try to take it one step at a time. Sometimes it's kind of hard. It's a lot of information today, especially when you have a fundamental advanced understanding of everything, and they are coming in
Yeah.
it can be hard to find the balance of how much information people in.
Yeah, how much information you give them. I would go on a person by person basis. You know what I mean? Like some people want to know everything. If you get that person, give it to them. If they don't care, you can just continue with a speed squat. But yeah, you can definitely see that, get like information overload. When we talk about all the different movements, you can coach 4, you can do them all. You don't have all these equipment, you can run a good conjugate system with basic stuff. So like, let's say you don't have bands or chains, you can do high bar, low bar, close stance, wide stance, a pull, and then you can sumo pull, conventional pull, you can good morning, close stance, wide stance, good morning. So there's, even within those variations, you can crisscross and get more variations, you can still run a good program. Same goes with upper body. Now the bands and chains definitely help. Definitely need the help. You can run it without it. Unless I did for years, we didn't have that stuff when we get go. Which bands to use? There's a couple articles up on the site. It's in my book. What bands to use? If anybody doesn't have my book, email me afterwards. I'll send it. If you guys want the slides, I'll send it over. Okay. Don't worry about the percents on bands. It's just laid out per your squat. Does anybody who's doing bands and stuff for their athletes now? A lot of people doing that? Okay. Circuit max is like a peaking system that Louis put in. We already talked about it. Basically all that was where I dropped the bar weight down. So how we would run that, we'll go over that real quick. So circuit max phase, for an athlete, I would increase their band tension. So this would be week 1 of circuit max. Their big event is 3 weeks out. Okay, this is like a neurological kind of kit. I don't know exactly how it works, but I knew doing this, getting ready for meets. When I went to the meet, I felt like I could run through a wall. Okay, so for the heavy weights, we're moving fast. So I'm 3 weeks out from my big event. I'm gonna increase the band tension up 2 levels like I talked about. So that's your first step. And then I'm gonna max out with that increased band tension. Okay, so that's week 1. Week 2, I go same band tension, but my bar weight's gonna be 30 to 40, probably 40% of that max the week before. And then early on in the competition week, I compete on the weekend, so I'm gonna go early in the week, I'll go about 30% of that max day with the same band tension. That's kind of how, so it's like a brutal max effort, heavy, and you phase into speed. Okay, so to go with volume, on week 1, I just do that max. Okay, week 2, go about 5 sets of 2, 40%. And then it's like almost competition week, if you can kind of do it that way. You might go like, it's almost like a shakeout. Do like 3 to 4 sets of 2 with 30%. Okay, so just get in, keep crisp, move, and get out. That's always how we kind of peak for our big meet, and that always seems to work pretty good. You can extend that. So let's say I run that peak for the start of playoffs, right? I want to be an ass kicker at the start of playoffs. You can do your circuit max at the start of playoffs, and then let's say I go further, just keep working the 30%. Okay, if we got to our speed component that we want, just keep working on that. So that's speed day, your max effort days, do the RPE thing. Right, just go up to like an 8 or 9, maybe push a little bit, get out. Okay, so you can kind of carry that peak through, keep on that speed zone.
I have some swimmers who will keep for our conference tournament, and we've got quite a few going into the late, which is like one month later. That's always kind of a, well, you guys are a long time. So like, how do you organize that?
Usually what I would do is get like a couple days rest, and then you just kind of roll back into it, kind of carry out that 30% work. I would hang around 4 to 6 sets of 2, 30%, still the increased band tension. That's your speed day. And if they have a heavy day too, kind of the same thing, work up to like an 8 out of 10. You'll have kids that feel better actually doing some heavier stuff, let them do it. They'll work on it. You know what I mean? Because it's still low volume. So those, you have those kids that, that's a mistake I made. I pulled back swimmers and throwers early on. We pulled them back too early, and they got to their meet, they felt flat. They said they felt weak. They weren't actually weak, they just pulled that stimulus up and they used to. So they need to keep the heavier stuff in longer. Yeah, just kind of ride that 30% of the speed. All right, that's it. That's why if you need to get a hold of me, okay? My phone, email, Instagram, whatever. Okay, I'm happy to answer questions. Talk training, whatever the hell you want to do, okay? Stock, I don't care. Get a stock, I'm sure. But that's